Perhaps I wasn't the best example or a very good example at certain periods of my life. My spouse just pointed out to me that there were some things that weren't on par with acceptable conduct. And I agreed and disagreed because parts are true and parts are not true. Uh, it's not all bad for the Mets. It's not all bad. Some of it's good. But yeah, so I believe I've repented and come to terms with that. Uh, but obviously what's done is done. You can't go back and change it. You wish you could, but you can't. So you have to just accept it and make the changes that are required, and which is called repentance, and move forward with God and your fellow man and with your family. You're supposed to, learn from it and gain from it. And you're supposed to move forward with things that are good and right. And that's what history does. History is supposed to teach us, whether it's your own or someone else's. History books are full of people that lived lives of good examples and bad examples. Some of them did both. Some of them were just mostly bad, if not all bad. We definitely don't want to go to that extreme. But we want to try to make everything better and more good and more righteous and more holy and more pure, more godly. And transgressions against God and sinning against God is still an issue. Not just 2,000 years ago for the original saints, and for even before that, when people of the Egyptians and were very concerned about righteous behavior. They wrote a book called the Book of the Dead, and the Book of the Dead, you really had to. They put your heart and weighed it against the feather to see which would be heavier, the feather or the heart. If it didn't balance out, you were condemned to be with the devils in the underworld. It was called Hades by the Greeks, but it was called, what was it called? I forget what the Egyptians called it, but it's like Hades, it's hell, place of the dead. But the thing is you don't die, you live on, but you live on in torment and torture and pain and anguish, and it's for all eternity. It's not just 70 or 80 years of physical existence, and then that's it. Life continues. Even though you're not in your body, you're in a spirit realm. But yeah, there are penalties. And the Egyptians were very concerned about it. The ancient Babylonians were concerned about it. Most all ancient cultures were concerned about the afterlife. Were concerned about how they approached God. And Judgment Day, Day of Reckoning. So I believe it still applies. I mean, we have reflections of the eternal realm here on earth. Everything on earth is the shadow and substance of heavenly truths. So when you see something if you see an organized structure here on earth, it's more than likely, if not all, at least part of it is an actual reflection of eternal realities. God has a judgment seat, and then there's judgment seats here on earth. There's magistrates, there's courts, there's judges, there's attorneys, there's defenders, there's all these things. And it's the same way with God. God is the supreme judge, and you've got to watch what you say, you got to watch what you do, because it will be put on the scales. And all cultures have believed that since ancient times, even to our modern day, because it's the truth. It's an innate truth. It's an innate truth. Means it's instinctual. We know it automatically because God put it inside of our bodies. He put it in our consciences. That when we do wrong, we feel guilty because that's God's blueprint. He put that as a sensor. Like, you know how machines have sensors that tell it to open and close doors or to move certain objects after an item reaches it. There's a sensor put there, just like an engine. It has sensors on, oxygen sensors. Well, God put a sensor in our bodies called guilt. And that's what keeps us, we can either go against that guilt or we can deal with it and come clean with God and whoever else that God has appointed to put over us. So, yeah, very important.